All right, let's get into the whole Jorge Lopez fiasco here with the Mets. So it is the Mets against, was it the Dodgers? I think it was the Dodgers because Jorge Lopez throws a pitch. Freddie Freeman comes and checks the swing. They appeal it to third.
Yeah, he'd given up a home run to Ohtani like a pitch or two
Yeah,
before.
yeah. And then the third base umpire says he doesn't go. Jorge Lopez has some choice words for him. He gets ejected.
Well,
Um,
that third base umpire was looking for a fight. His response was aggressive.
it was pretty aggressive.
It
You
was
are correct.
aggressive.
So Lopez untucks his jerseys, hurls his glove into the stands, leaves the clubhouse. The Mets don't even wait for the game to end pretty much, and they DFA him.
Yep.
I mean, it was quick.
He was DFA'd like as soon as the game ended, they DFA'd him.
And then I don't have the exact quotes, but it was something along the line like, I'm the worst teammate on the worst team, was what was reported.
Yeah.
Now, Jorge Lopez, English is his second language. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy because he did go fly off the handle. He did.
His reaction on the field was a little ridiculous, but it wasn't like, we're going to cut you ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen worse behavior on a baseball field for sure. If a player does say that I'm the worst player on the worst team, okay, you're not fitting our culture. I get that. But there was a lot of other clarifying statements that were confusing to me that came after. Oh, what he really meant was this. What he, didn't mean to say was this. And I was kind of lost on the whole thing, to be completely honest.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sequence of events for Lopez. So he pitches, home run to Ohtani, the check swing to Freeman, gets argued, the umpire gets thrown out, untucks a shirt, throws the glove in, goes down to the clubhouse, chills out a little bit, gets all changed and ready. Game ends, media comes in, and immediately they go to him because, of course, why wouldn't you?
Right.
And so the Mets, he sometimes has an interpreter with him. He did not have an interpreter with him. His interpreter was unavailable. So the Mets left him in front of a whole bunch of media asking him questions. And he said something about the worst, and his English is not great. Again, second language, his English he's not easy to understand. And he said something that sounded like worst teammate or worst team, and they couldn't really tell. So I asked him again, are you saying you're on the worst team? And he was like, well, yeah. And I don't think he knew what he was saying, because what the media reported was that he said he was the worst teammate on the worst team. It sounded like what he was trying to say was, I'm the worst teammate because I made the team look bad, is
Right.
what I think he was trying to say. Because that was what they were getting at. How do you feel about the response? Was it too much? Blah, blah, blah. They were kind of digging into what he did. And he was basically saying, I made myself look like a fool. And yeah, I was frustrated. Come to find out, on top of this, Jorge Lopez has a son, an 11-year-old son who suffers from this really rare genetic disorder, who's awaiting a transplant. The guy's personal life is a wreck.
Yeah.
So probably not thinking the straightest. And the Mets hung him out there with no interpreter. So as soon as they heard him say that, and the media published all the quick shots on social media, they DFA'd him for thinking he said he was the worst player with the worst teammate on the worst team. I don't think that's what he was saying. Most people don't think that's what he was saying.
Right.
The Mets reacted to it, and the poor guy is gone. I really think the Mets did him a disservice by leaving him out there. They should have kept him from the media, knowing his personal situation, knowing what just happened. They should have sat him in the manager's office and said, you're going to hide for the evening. You're not available to the media, but we need to talk about what just happened.
Right.
And I think the Mets should have handled that internally. Instead, they hung this guy out to dry in front of the media, no interpreter, with not great English. And what he said and what was reported, I do not think are the same. And the dude got DFA'd for it, which is a shame, because it shouldn't have come to that.
No. And that's the manager's job. That's the general manager's job, to kind of read the team and be like, yo, this guy is having a lot of issues. And listen, yep. We all want to say that when we go to work, we leave our personal issues at the door. We're all human. That doesn't happen.
Nobody does that.
That doesn't happen. we're all human. We get it. Your emotions are going to carry over.
Yep.
They just are. And if you have the pulse of your team, you should be able to recognize that, just like you said, and protect your guy.
Yep.
Okay, he just gave up a bomb. He just got tossed. We got to do something to protect him. We know that he doesn't speak English very well. and we don't have his interpreter. Like those are all things as a manager that should have the pulse of your team that you should be like, all right, like you said, hide in this office. Here's your blanket and pillow. Curl up and take a nap. We'll come get you when they're gone.
Yeah.
Like, and they didn't do that. It's terrible. I hate that for him. But
No,
I mean,
and a lot of people took shots at him immediately. And Boomer Esiason came back out and apologized the day after when he found out about his son for what he said about Jorge Lopez on the air. And then a lot of people in baseball have come back around saying the organization hung him out to dry. What they did was wrong.
yeah.
And I mean, a lot of more inside type people said, yeah, the Mets are a mess. The front office is a mess. The manager sucks. Like we're a hot mess. And you look at the team, they've lost 7 of their last 10. They're 11 games under 500. They're going nowhere. They're circling the drain again. Is
it again or is it still?
Maybe, yeah, sorry, maybe still, not again, still. They haven't left the drain. But like the roster stinks, the attitude stinks, the manager stinks, the front office stinks. Like everything Cohen said he was going to do, now he's a few years into this thing, he's not doing. The Mets are still dysfunctional as all get out. They are a terrible organization. They're a terribly run organization, and this continues to be their MO. And players came to his defense, and it didn't matter. The team made the move. They felt justified in doing it. Good for them. I hope they feel good about cutting a guy loose who's got whatever issues he's got going. He hasn't pitched poorly for them.
No.
He just had a rough outing and didn't take it well. And I don't blame him. And people that think that you leave your personal life at home, like you were saying, are full of it. You got a sick kid. My whole life is going to be revolving around that situation. I don't care what anybody says.
1,000%. Especially when you travel as much as these guys and
Right.
you can't be at home.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I hate that.
It's bad. It's bad. And I think the Mets showed in that situation that they are still a trash bottom of the barrel organization, and they've got a long way to go.
They do. And I think they need to stop trying to buy. I think they need to tear it all down and start from scratch. Like start building your farm, get the young talent up there. They got that hard reset over there in Queens.
That roster has no bright spots. I mean, Lindor, super talented player, but he's streaky as hell. Alonso is who he is. Like, not a very deep roster, not a very talented roster. No leadership on that team.
Brett Beatty sent down again.
This is the same team 3 years ago was crying at their fans, like they're booing back at their fans and crying. Like this organization is still a dumpster fire.
Yeah, ever since that Javi Baez deal.
Yep. They completely went off the rails.
Brutal.
Off the rails.
Wow.